A good friend and highly respected authority recently introduced me as a misplaced Australian in China. My good friend was trying to best describe how and why I left my Australian homeland 8 years ago to settle in Zhuhai, China, the global heartland of the printing supplies industry. The move, I have to admit, was a daunting one, and he, among many others, wondered how I would cross the cultural divide. And would I stay? Like many, I was convinced that the Chinese led the world in human rights abuse, that it was dictatorial, and that the 1.4 billion people living here have no freedom and are incredibly poor. It's simply not true. I had to learn quickly that many lies have been told about China in the past and are still being told. People here are wealthier than what they were 8 years ago when I first arrived, and I've seen it with my own eyes. The middle class now numbers 400 million, more than the entire population of the United States. And many drive the latest model BMWs, Mercedes, Audis and Teslas. Did you know that General Motors sold 175,489 Cadillac brand cars last year in China, making China surpass the US as the premium brand's largest market worldwide? In fact, China is the biggest global market for 3 major US automakers. In 2017, Buick sold 1,229,804 cars in China. Ford sold 951,396, and Chevrolet sold 538,671, all manufactured in China with profits going back to the United States. Similarly, US-based Boeing predicts that Chinese airlines combined will buy, listen to it, 7,690 new planes worth $1.2 trillion over the next 2 decades. Now, that has to further boost the US economy, unless, of course, the trade war sends the Chinese off to Airbus instead. Sure, like anywhere else in the world, the poor are never far away from you. However, here in China, the cultural expectation is not to beg, but to find a task to earn some money. Many find themselves a cart and collect recyclable paper, cardboard, plastics and metals. And I've seen many having a smartphone in hand as they tow their oversized loads. The Chinese have immense respect and pride for their leader Xi Jinping. They would rather have him than many other choices of leader offered by Western democracies. Government is viewed like the grandfather sitting at the family Sunday lunch table who is revered and respected because he has the best interests of the family at heart. And that's the reason why China is tough on gambling, pornography, drugs, guns and crime. Militarily, it's important to note that the US has not won any wars or military interventions since World War II. Instead, it has suffered a major defeats or created messes and struggles that it has tried to get out of while spending trillions of dollars, most of which has added to its national debt. China, conversely, has invested those trillions into building infrastructure, the fastest trains in the world, landing a probe on the dark side of the moon, and building better cities. Do you remember where you were at the time of the Tiananmen Square protests in 1989? I certainly do. And I remember how we collectively accused China of abusing human rights. Yet more Americans have died from gun violence in the last 50 years than in all the wars of American history. Since 1968, more than 1.5 million American people have died in gun-related incidents, according to data from the US Centre for Disease Control and Prevention. 40,000 of them last year alone. Amnesty International is addressing it as the human rights crisis that it is. Yet Americans refuse to give up their guns. I have walked the streets at night in many large Chinese cities with no fear at all. Inventiveness and diligence are in the very DNA of the Chinese. They will find a workaround solution to meet your manufacturing needs. They will cut corners, find quicker, cheaper ways to fulfill your requests. We should not reject China for all the preconceived opinions we may still hold. After all, those who live in glass houses should not throw stones. Thanks for giving me just a minute here at rtmworld.com. I'm David Gibbons.